Good evening, I'm Shane Jones, leading the news at 7. The Child Care Board is worried about what appears to be rising cases of neglect across the island. The revelation was made during the 3rd annual Child Protection March and Rally in the city today. Lisa Lord reports.
Of the 1,313 child abuse cases referred to the Child Care Board last year, 695 were related to neglect. Senior Child Care Officer Roxanne Sanderson-Weeks says this category continues to be the biggest problem.
Neglect manifests itself in various forms, such as failing to provide daily nutritional requirements, failing to send children to school on a daily basis, leaving the child home unattended or not supervised, exposing children to dangerous community environmental conditions, and we talk about where they're on the block with the smoking and all the different things that are happening.
Ms. Sanderson-Weeks says increased sexual activity is also a major cause for concern. She says a trend is developing where children as young as 3 years old are engaging in sex acts. She says this is why it is so necessary for social workers within schools.
We're seeing minors, both male and females, who are exposed to sexual acts such as touching, kissing, they're watching pornography, and believe it or not, the increase from these reports come from the schools.
Concern was also raised about the age at which a child is held criminally responsible, which currently stands at 11. UNICEF's representative for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, Kin Sandy Lewin, says this is way too low and needs to be raised. She also highlighted the need to change the law on wandering.
The fact that children are criminally charged for running away from home when faced with sexual or other forms of abuse. That is a long-standing piece of legislation that is really in need of addressing and changing.
Attorney General and Minister of Home Affairs Adriel Brathwaite has given a commitment to deal with the issues affecting young people. He says he will be presenting a draft juvenile justice bill to Cabinet in about 2 months. Making reference to this week's incident where a student damaged a teacher's car, Mr. Brathwaite says the root causes for such behavior need to be addressed.
Children, they don't wake up and become wicked, in inverted commas. That in fact, that a normal child doesn't go back into a school, a normal child who's on suspension doesn't go back into a school and damage a car, etc. That in fact, we need to focus more on what causes our children to behave the way that they're behaving.
The Child Protection March was held under the theme, "It takes a community to protect a child." It is organized by Action for Justice, which seeks to bring awareness to the abuse and exploitation of children. Lisa Lord, CBC News.
The Barbados Water Authority is making all efforts to reduce the impact of next week's 2-day shutdown of the Ionics plant on Spring Garden. That facility, which serves the majority of the West Coast, will be offline next Tuesday and Wednesday for upgrades. However, engineer in charge of operations with the BWA, Hector Marshall, explains measures have been implemented, such as boosting the pumping capacity of the Bell pumping station by 3 million gallons daily.
We also have other sources along the western side. We have one at Molyneux, and we have our Trent pump station, and also at Carrollton. So we will allow those waters from those 3 stations to flow into the Carrollton system, which will satisfy the West Coast. But also understand that once the demand go up for the water and the supply is less than the demand, people will have outages.
The James Street Speightstown Methodist Church held its extravaganza at Ilaro Court today for its 7th straight year. Prime Minister Frundle Stewart was on hand to officially open the event, and he had a tour of the fair, taking part in many of its activities. There were books, plants, food, children rides, and many other items on sale. Organizer Reverend Alison Carter says the extravaganza raises funds for charity and for the church's missionary work.
We are going to share some of the funds with certain charities which are yet to be identified, and then our church is going into mission We're doing a couple things right now, like Alpha at prison, and we're hoping to have a home, a house of mercy and empowerment, which will cater to persons who need help, both education, financial, whatever they will need that the church can help.
The Barbados Labour Party continued its Rubbing Shoulders program today with an all-day walkthrough of the St. Philip South constituency. Taking a break for a press briefing in St. Martin's with party leader Mia Motley and other members, BLP candidate Indar Ware charged that the constituency is a neglected one. He suggests that commercial agriculture is needed to address what he calls high unemployment in that constituency.
We know that the government has been facilitating other business endeavors across the island. The government is busy at facilitating wealth at the higher level, but down here in this constituency, where people have the potential to be able to grow, especially in agriculture. We went up in the Curtains area today, and there's a tremendous amount of opportunity over there if only the representative of the area would have paid enough attention to see that given the opportunity to hold one of the most senior ministries in any government, that he had the opportunity to help the people along the way.
Mr. Ware, who was beaten at the polls in St. Philip North in the last election, says a different approach must be taken concerning the squatters in Rock Hall.
You look at Rock Hall as a major example of a case of people who simply cannot do any better, cannot help themselves. And I think that a responsible government, must now look at their role in trying to help regularize the living conditions of people in this constituency, especially those people in Rock Hall, so that we can find a suitable fit for what is taking place over there.
You can make a difference. With that message, the organizers of Exercise Tradewinds 2017 have embarked on a drive to attract volunteers. 4 national volunteer recruitment drives were held across the island. The first 2 took place this morning simultaneously in Independence Square in Speightstown. Maritime Lead Planner, Lieutenant Coast Guard David Harewood says they are hoping to attract 1,200 volunteers for Tradewinds. The regional exercise will officially start in Barbados on June 6 and ends in Trinidad and Tobago on June 17th. The first hour of the drive saw over 20 people signing on as volunteers.
Once the Barbadians have been able, but we're looking for volunteers 18 and above. Based on the type of scenarios we have, we need to have adults to carry out that particular focus exercise. But there is still a part for the children to be involved in. It's going to be a community-related relation activity, and with that activity, we're going to give them a chance to come and view a lot of the different assets being on island that time, whether at Paragon or at HMBS Pelican.
Lieutenant Harewood says the promotion of the exercise is making Barbadians more aware of it and its purpose.
Persons are now getting to understand what Exercise Tradewinds is about. We also have our website and our Facebook page, and from that, the interest is being generated. When we were here this morning, earlier, we had a lot of questions being asked, a lot of things over trying to find out exactly what the exercise is about and what Tradewinds is about. The last time Tradewinds was held was in 2012 in Barbados, but this year we have a little twist involved, and that's the reason behind the whole volunteer drive. We want the public to understand that it's not just a military exercise, it is a military and a civilian exercise.
Okay, we'll take a short break here and come back with more news.
My name is David Allen. I'm a taxi driver. I work for Dover with Taxi Service. It's a great experience working with Sanders. I'm glad that Sanders came to Barbados, offering the guests some nice scenic tours for our taxi drivers to take them around the island to see the beauty of Barbados. My family feel proud because I'm working with Sanders. I don't have to hustle on the streets, and it's guaranteed work every day.
By consistently providing guests for these tours, Sandals Resorts keeps tour operations lucrative, showcases the beauty of the Caribbean, and boosts regional economies.
Stay informed with news you can trust.
Law is searching for the suspect or suspects responsible for a shooting.
Current, accurate, Morning Barbados News, brought to you every Wednesday at 7 a.m. with the compliments of the Special Olympics Outreach and Skills Program, a project by the European Union.
Barbadian men who may undergo prostate-specific antigen or PSA testing are being told that an elevated PSA number does not always indicate prostate cancer. This is a worry for some men who undergo the test. Administration Assistant with the Cancer Support Services, David Howard, says men become scared after an elevated reading. He explains this can mean a slight infection in the prostate,
which can be easily rectified, but when you do get an elevated reading, we always have our holistic team in place where we have a doctor that we can refer you to and a counselor that we can refer you to so that you can have a discussion with either of them or both of them to find a way forward. So it's not a case where an elevated reading means you have cancer. It's just a slight abnormality within your prostate that most of the time can be easily rectified.
Mr. Howard was speaking to CBC News as Cancer Support Services held its third PSA testing day for the year. It was held at its Belmont Road St. Michael office. More men, according to him, especially younger men, are coming forward to be tested. He reminded Barbadians that early testing is vital.
Persons would recommend, well, medical professionals would recommend that we start the screening from 35 and up. So I do think it's extremely important to know what's going on in your body, and especially for us men, you know, sometimes we tend to stray away and shy away from being tested for certain things in our bodies. But it's important to know what's going on in your body, and it's extremely important to know the PSA levels in terms of prostate, health.
There is a quiet revolution taking place in education in Barbados. So says Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Senator Harry Husbands. During his presentation at the weekly Astor B. Watts DLP Lunchtime Lecture, the party's candidate for St. James North said there were a number of initiatives that government was embarking on, like the expansion of early childhood education, the introduction of CBQs, and remodeling Earlston Teachers College, as well as teacher education. However, he says the result of this hard work is not adequately communicated.
The weakness of our party is that if the Barbados Labour Party were doing the things that we are doing in education, they would have pamphlets, they would have pretty flyers all over the place. But we don't have that. We just get on with the work and think that by getting on with the work and doing good things, people will get to know about it. Well, we know, and the young people here in the media will tell you, that in today's world, that's not so. We have to repeatedly use all the various platforms to say to people what we have been doing.
The Samuel Jackman Prescott Polytechnic will be expanded to the north of the country with the establishment of an agricultural school. Senator Husbands says it's now a reality with the assistance of the Chinese government.
We now have the money, and we are in the process of doing the tendering and so on for the construction of, going through the formal thing for the construction of the whole agricultural training institution in St. Lucie. So when we talk about the connections in the economy and how important agriculture is, and we need to rebuild agriculture, one of the things that we are doing in education, our contribution, is the development in the Hope in St. Lucie of a specialized agricultural training institution.
Sports News is next.